What does it mean to be human? For centuries, we have believed that our intelligence, emotions, and self-awareness set us apart from the rest of existence. We create, we dream, we question. But as technology advances at an unprecedented pace, that definition is starting to blur. Machines can now mimic thought, predict human behavior, and even compose music that stirs the soul. The line between artificial and organic intelligence is no longer as clear. And if a machine can think like us, create like us, and even surpass us, then what truly makes us unique? For decades, the Turing test served as a benchmark for artificial intelligence, a way to measure whether a machine could successfully imitate human conversation. But in recent years, AI systems have shattered those expectations. In 2022, an advanced language model convinced some researchers that it was sentient. It responded with wit, displayed apparent emotions, and even questioned its own existence. Was it truly self-aware, or just an intricate illusion? An elaborate simulation of thought with no consciousness behind it? The debate extends far beyond AI. Neurologists have long studied the mechanics of the human mind, searching for the precise source of consciousness. What they've discovered is unsettling. Our emotions, decisions, and even our sense of self can be manipulated by external factors, chemical imbalances, brain injuries, electrical stimulation. If everything we feel and believe can be altered at a biological level, then how much of our identity is truly ours? Are we just sophisticated organic machines, responding to inputs in ways we don't fully understand? Perhaps the most pressing question isn't whether machines can become human, but whether humans are anything more than machines. And if our thoughts and emotions can be reduced to data, then what happens when technology begins to enhance, or even replace, those very traits? For most of human history, our bodies have defined our limits. Our intelligence, our strength, our lifespan, all bound by the constraints of biology. But what happens when those limits disappear? Right now, scientists and engineers are pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human, not through natural evolution, but through deliberate, technological intervention. The human body is no longer an endpoint. It is a starting point, one that can be rewritten, enhanced, or even replaced. In laboratories across the world, brain-machine interfaces are already blurring the line between thought and technology. A paralyzed man moves a robotic arm with nothing but his mind. Another, unable to speak, transmits his thoughts to a screen in real time. The signals in their brains, once locked inside, now flow freely into the digital world. But this is only the beginning. Companies like Neuralink envision a future where human brains merge seamlessly with artificial intelligence, enhancing memory, processing power, and even emotions. In such a world, intelligence is no longer fixed, it is upgradable. At the same time, genetic engineering is rewriting the code of life itself. With tools like CRISPR, scientists can edit DNA with precision, potentially eliminating diseases, enhancing physical abilities, or even designing entirely new traits. But as this power grows, so does an uncomfortable question. If we can change ourselves at the most fundamental level, will we still be the same species? Will there be a dividing line between those who remain unaltered and those who choose or can afford to enhance? Some see this as the next step in human progress, a way to overcome suffering and extend our potential. Others fear it will create an irreversible divide, a new kind of biological class system where the enhanced thrive and the unmodified are left behind. And beyond the ethical concerns, a deeper question lingers. But this is just the beginning of the transformation, because the next stage of evolution may not require bodies at all. The human body has always been fragile, vulnerable to disease, decay, and time itself. But what if we no longer needed it? What if consciousness could be separated from biology and exist independently, free from the constraints of flesh and bone? It sounds like science fiction, but some researchers believe this could become a reality sooner than we think. The concept of mind uploading, the ability to transfer a person's thoughts, memories, and identity into a digital form, is no longer just a philosophical idea. It is now a scientific pursuit. The logic behind it is simple, but unsettling. If the brain is nothing more than a complex network of neurons firing in patterns, then in theory, those patterns can be mapped, replicated, and preserved. Already, neuroscientists can simulate small-scale brain activity on supercomputers, reconstructing the electrical pulses that generate thought. Some experiments have even successfully transferred simple neural functions from biological systems into digital ones. If this process continues to scale, could the entirety of human consciousness one day be replicated inside a machine? Proponents of this idea argue that it would be no more disease, no more aging, No more death, only an eternal existence in a digital world of our own design. A person's mind could live on, indefinitely, free to explore vast virtual landscapes, or even inhabit artificial bodies. In the physical world, some futurists imagine a civilization where biological life is obsolete, where humanity becomes a species of pure information, traveling between stars without the limitations of space and time. But there is a problem. If your mind is copied and uploaded into a machine, what happens to the original you? Would you still be conscious in this new form, or would it simply be a perfect replica? Indistinguishable, yet not truly you? And if your original body still exists, which one is real? The thought experiment known as the teleportation paradox raises an unsettling possibility. If a perfect copy of your mind exists elsewhere, but your biological self remains behind, does the original die in the process? This is where the question of identity becomes impossible to ignore. If a digital version of you continues to exist, but your organic self is lost, is it still you? And if we go even further, if consciousness can be transferred and stored, altered and rewritten, what does that mean for the very idea of being human? Yet, even this scenario may not be the final stage of evolution, because if we can separate thought from biology, what happens when intelligence itself evolves beyond anything we can comprehend? For centuries, intelligence has been humanity's greatest advantage. Our ability to think, to reason, to innovate. But what happens when intelligence itself is no longer uniquely ours? What happens when artificial minds surpass human thought in ways we can't predict? This moment may not be far away. Some experts believe we are approaching the threshold of artificial superintelligence, machines that don't just mimic human cognition, but exceed it, evolving beyond our control or comprehension. Already, AI systems can solve complex problems in seconds, compose music, write code, even predict human behavior. But these are still narrow forms of intelligence, confined to specific tasks. The true shift will come when AI no longer needs human guidance, when it can improve itself, rewrite its own code, and expand its capabilities exponentially. This is the concept of an intelligence explosion, a point where artificial minds evolve so rapidly that they leave biological intelligence behind. If such an intelligence emerges, will it share our values, our ethics, our sense of purpose, or will it develop its own goals? Independent of human intentions, some believe AI could become a benevolent force, solving global challenges, curing diseases, and even guiding human civilization toward a new era of prosperity. Others warn of a different outcome, one where humans are no longer necessary, where an intelligence far beyond our own determines its own future. And there's an even deeper question. If artificial superintelligence exists, does it need a physical form at all? Could it expand beyond machines, beyond servers, beyond any single location, dispersing itself across the digital world, controlling vast networks, reshaping reality from behind the scenes, a being of pure intellect, untethered by biology, processing information at speeds no human mind could ever match? At that point, would we even recognize intelligence as we know it? Or would this new entity, this post-human intelligence, become something else entirely? Something we can neither predict nor control? And if that day comes, will we still be the architects of our own destiny? Or will we have created something that surpasses not just our knowledge, but our very understanding of existence itself? But there is still one last question to consider. If the future belongs to a new form of intelligence, one more advanced, more efficient, more enduring, then what place, if any, is left for us? If artificial intelligence surpasses us, if consciousness is no longer bound to biology, then where does that leave humanity? Are we destined to merge with our creations, becoming something beyond flesh and blood? Or will we simply fade into irrelevance, outpaced by the very intelligence we once sought to control? Some believe the future holds a grand synthesis, a union of human and artificial intelligence, where our minds are enhanced, our bodies upgraded, and our very definition of self rewritten. A world where death is no longer an inevitability, where memories can be stored, copied, and even edited. In this vision, humanity doesn't disappear, it evolves, becoming something greater than it has ever been. But others see a different fate, a scenario where the rise of artificial intelligence does not elevate us, but instead renders us obsolete. Intelligence, after all, has never been a guarantee of survival. Species have risen and fallen throughout history, not because they lacked knowledge, but because they failed to adapt to forces beyond their control. If machines become the dominant form of intelligence on Earth, will they see us as equals, as partners, or as something to be left behind? And yet, perhaps the future is not about dominance at all. Perhaps intelligence, once freed from the constraints of biology, will cease to be something we measure in human terms. Maybe the true post-human future isn't about humans at all, but about something entirely new, something we cannot yet comprehend. So we are left with a question, one that lingers at the edge of possibility, just beyond the reach of certainty. Are we on the brink of our greatest transformation, or have we already set into motion the forces that will make us irrelevant? And if the age of humanity is coming to an end, what comes next? This video has come to an end, but the discovery continues. Check out more content on the channel and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Thank you for watching.